Welcome back, my students, to a brand new episode of Comic Class. And in today's lesson, guys, we're going to look at the Amazing Spider-Man issue 4. And yeah, this is the debut of the Sandman. He is probably one of the most interesting Spider-Man villains to date. And yeah, without further ado, let's jump right into today's story. Let's go. So our story pretty much starts off with Spider-Man kind of foiling a robbery attempt. At least that's what it seems like. But before they can actually rob the place that they're gonna rob, Spider-Man jumps in and tries to stop them. And they kind of point out that because they hadn't done a crime yet, they hadn't committed the crime, that Spider-Man is actually an outlaw and they can use the law against him. So they call for a police officer, and when the police officer shows up, Spider-Man tries to make his getaway. And yeah, they basically feel like they outsmarted Spider-Man, but even the cop says he can tell that they're kind of like, suspect, and for them to kind of like just run along. So the good thing is that Spider-Man did stop the robbery from happening, so that's good. So Spider-Man basically is just, going around town, after he escaped this situation, kind of reminding himself that he needs to be more careful when he's doing his superhero work. And eventually he sees this dude climbing this ladder up a side of a building, and this turns out to be the Sandman. So Spider-Man shows up, and he realizes that the Sandman must be up to no good, so he engages in a fight, or, he tries to capture him, and he basically reveals himself to be made out of sand, or that's his power. And he's able to utilize his sand ability to either make himself super soft or super hard like iron. So Spider-Man basically gets hurt in the process, and the Sandman basically attacks Spider-Man and rips his mask in two, kind of revealing Peter Parker. So lucky for him, he didn't see the Sandman, didn't see his face, but Peter has to run off because there's no way he can reveal his secret identity, so the Sandman gets away free. So we get to learn the Sandman's origin being that he was in a nuclear plant or a nuclear test explosion that caught him unaware, and he basically fused his body with the sand that was around that explosion, making him into a type of Sandman. And yeah, so Peter Parker basically goes back home and he has to fix his mask, and he almost gets caught by Aunt May in his costume, but he pretends to be sick, and while he's doing that, he sees on the TV that the Sandman is making some robberies, and he's basically just doing a ton of stuff. So eventually Sandman goes to Peter Parker's, college campus, and he gets in a confrontation with the principal of that college and tells him that he wants a diploma. And yeah, I guess the Sandman had never graduated high school, so he's about to, lay waste to this principal after the principal denies him a diploma, saying that he can't betray the trust that he has been given by the government, to make people educated. And Spider-Man shows up and lands a hit on the Sandman, a really nice either right hook or left hook. And they engage in a fight, and the Sandman utilizes his sand abilities and shows us more of what he can do with the sand abilities that he has, being that he can change his hands into different weapons to try to, squash the spider. And their fight is pretty interesting. Spider-Man tries to web him up, but realizes that that's not going to work. The Sandman can just easily turn into sand and get through his webs. He tries shooting the Sandman through with a type of, gun or something, like an air gun. And it's either an air gun or a nail gun. I have no idea what this is. I think it's an electric drill. And he tries using that to, drill through the Sandman, but it's no use because he can just make his sand very soft. And yeah, eventually Spider-Man comes up with this awesome idea to use a vacuum cleaner it's some type of vacuum device. And he basically, absorbs all the Sandman's sand, trapping him in the container for the police. And Peter, utilizes some sand from, the container, or, from some other, pot that was nearby, and kind of replicates what he was doing for some shots for Daily Bugle. It's a little, slimy, but Peter does say that he did fight the Sandman for real, so it's not that slimy, but still feels a little iffy to me. But whatever, gets the bills paid for Spider-Man. I mean, he is saving everybody's lives every day, so I guess he can get a break for a little bit. So J. Jonah Jameson basically is not impressed with what Spider-Man has done, taking down the Sandman. And Spider-Man uses his signal to show that he was the one that defeated the Sandman. And J. Jonah Jameson basically tells police that they need to, capture Spider-Man and lock him up. And the police basically tell J. Jonah Jameson that he's the only one trying to take out Spider-Man, and that the police appreciate Spider-Man's help in taking down the Sandman, showing that J. Jonah Jameson's bad press for Spider-Man is kind of going down the drain a little bit at a time. So hopefully soon we'll see Spider-Man get a lot of praise for his heroic efforts, and at least some respect for the job that he does every day for the citizens of New York. And yeah, so Peter gets talked with J. Jonah Jameson for the pictures that he got of Spider-Man versus the Sandman, so he's probably gonna get a paycheck from him to pay the bills for Aunt May, so that's good. And the story pretty much ends off with Flash Thompson, Liz Allen, and other classmates of Peter basically making fun of him for being a coward and leaving the scene when the Sandman had showed up to, you know, attack the college campus. And of course Peter knows that he's Spider-Man and he actually saved all their lives, but he can't, you know, give out his secret identity, so he kind of has to just take the, you know, the mental abuse, basically, you know, them just making fun of him, the humiliation. And, you know, he had blew off his date with Liz Allen earlier in the issue, so she doesn't really want to talk to him, but he does lose his temper a little bit with Flash. But Peter basically realizes that with his spider strength he would easily demolish Flash, so he decides to not go through with it. And of course Flash, you know, teases him for that, calling him a coward. And yeah, so the issue ends with Liz and Flash going out on a date, with Flash kind of just making fun of Peter, you know, telling him not to lose his books from some kindergarteners and stuff like that. Just, you know, some friendly teasing, I guess you just say, like a natural bully like talk, you know, that you see in like shows and stuff. And yeah, so you have Peter basically walking around town. He actually overhears people talking about the Daily Bugle and the bad press that they're giving Spider-Man still, so he's still having to deal with that side of the city that doesn't really trust him. And the issue is just with Spider-Man contemplating if he needs to continue being Spider-Man, and of course we know he will, but it will be interesting to see how exactly he handles these issues in the next coming, you know, few issues of the story. And hopefully soon the city realizes what Spider-Man is doing, and that he's not against the city, and he's not a menace to society like J. Jonah Jameson says, and that he is indeed the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. But yeah, that was the Amazing Spider-Man issue for the debut of the Sandman, and it was a really good issue. Just like I've said about every issue of the Steve Ditko Stan Lee run, this was really just one of the greatest runs in all of comic book history. Every issue is so well written. The character dialogue, you know, just really fits the characters. The action choreography was pretty good for its time, and just an overall classic to read. So I definitely recommend you go check this out. Link in the description down below. Check it out on Comixology. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to tune in tomorrow to watch my review of issue 5. And yeah, I'm doing the daily grind, getting these daily videos out for you guys, and hopefully it stays this way for a few weeks. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and hope you guys share this on social media to grow the channel. Be sure to like and subscribe to join the comic class, you know, And yeah, let's, you know, grow this channel, trying to reach 100 subs soon. But until next video, guys, God bless you. Until the next lesson, keep on reading those comics.
I am who I'm meant to be. Over and out again. My future needed clarity, so I could see how you react.